Hello.
Do you live here?
Nobody lives here.
Real terror. How long has it been since you've been on Elm Street? Welcome to a brand new nightmare. He is the first in fear.
Will you help me? I'm sorry, can someone help me, please?
Second to none.
Don't let them put you to sleep.
He has no mercy. And no equal.
Now no one sleeps.
Get ready. This August, your wildest dreams will come true.
How sweet, fresh meat.
A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 4. The Dream Master.
Welcome to Slash, a horror movie podcast. In Season 2 of Slash, we will be covering the films of the A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Starting with the 1984 Wes Craven classic, and ending with its remake from 2010. Slash is available everywhere podcasts can be found. You can follow Slash on Twitter at /horror. And you can find every episode of Slash at fansnotexperts.com//. Enjoy the show. Remember that it's fun to be scared. And whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Greetings, horror fans. Welcome, booze and ghouls, to Slash, the horror movie podcast that I finally have gotten back to recording about. Ooh. Today, I'm here talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 4, The Dream Master. This originally came out in August of 1988. About a year and a half since our previous movie, Dream Warriors, and almost as long as my last episode, But I'm here now, and thank you for still finding this, and hopefully the video I do comes through. I'm trying something different. I have the camera closer to me. I've got the green screen behind me. I've got a light shining. We'll see how this all works out. But folks, I'm excited. I got to tell you the truth, though. I was planning on doing this episode weeks ago, which is the last time I watched this movie was weeks ago. But that's okay. We're going to go through it. We're going to remember it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to discuss this bonkers movie that I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, I didn't like much at all. And yet, it might have the best soundtrack. Everyone wants to talk about Doc and Rockin' and Dream Warriors, and that's the most memorable song. But this movie, I feel like the Dream Warriors is where it really started. But this movie brought it even further as Freddy being a pop culture icon. We get Will Smith. We get the Fat Boys, both doing Freddy Krueger rap songs. I mean, and one of them, Freddy's actually in. He's in the Fat Boys, in the Will Smith, Fresh Prince, whatever you want to call him. That's definitely someone else saying, "You've got the body and I've got the brain." I think that's right, Fred. You got me all wrong. I am partners with nobody with nails that long, but I did love the Fresh Prince version better. I really did not expect us to talk about Fresh Prince and the Fat Boys in the first 3 minutes, but here we are. So, this movie, now, as I said, it's not as good as Dream Warriors. It just isn't. But it is the biggest box office of Nightmare on Elm Street until we get to Freddy v. Jason: Dawn of Justice. That takes things to another higher level. This movie was only a $6.5 million budget, but that's the art of these low-budget films. They're still doing movies with really low budgets today, with even this low a budget. But those will really look low budget. Back in 1988, 87, when this was probably being filmed, or it was probably filmed in 88. I am sure it's written down. I didn't look it up. I looked up everything but that. But $6.5 million is enough to turn someone into a cockroach, is enough to have a shark, like a shark of a glove shark going through the sand. It's enough, and yet this movie made almost $50 million, which again, nowadays you'd be like, oh my goodness, that's not very good for a movie of, this fanfare. I don't even know if it's considered fanfare. I think for, 12-year-old me, who I just turned 12 when this movie came out, like 2 weeks before, 12-year-old me, I thought this was, I believe the term is the cat's pajamas. I thought this was the height of cinema. Oh my goodness, they've made another Freddy movie. I didn't think art could reach this level, but yet here we are. And I'm almost positive, I checked with my brother, I'm almost positive that our dad took us to this one as well. I think it ends here. I believe by part 5, maybe my dad didn't really care about seeing these movies anymore, and my brother was old enough to get us into the movie theater. He was old enough that we could both go to see these horror movies together. The one time where it almost didn't happen was the scary horror movie Bram Stoker's Dracula. And what's funny is they didn't let us in. We start walking out. I'm dejected. My brother approaches this guy and says, "Hey, you want to be our uncle for 5 seconds?" He goes up, "Hey, I want to buy tickets." "Yeah, we just ran into our uncle." He's like, "Your uncle, right?" "Yes." Boom, bought us the tickets, got us in, and no one was hurt except however old I was I was probably 14. Wait a minute. Oh, it's because my brother was old enough to see the R-rated movie, but he wasn't old enough to bring me in. I don't know. Who knows how these rules work? Sometimes they let us in, sometimes they didn't. But we definitely did see this movie in the theater. I mean, I remember correctly, I saw in the theater 3, 4, I saw everything except for the 2010 remake in the theater. So my brother and I and dad, my dad, I don't like when people say dad to other people. I was talking to dad. No, he's not your dad. He's me and Sean's dad. Sean and my... Anyway, we were part of the $49 million. So you're welcome, New Line Cinema. This movie was written by some, I don't want to say heavy hitters in Hollywood, but very recognizable films. Now, okay, not for all of them. There's a story by William Kotzwinkle and Brian Helgeland, whatever. Kotzwinkle wrote the novelization for Superman 3. He wrote the novelization for E.T. He wrote the novel E.T. and the Green Planet. And he wrote a bunch of other things, But Brian Helgeland wrote the screenplay with Ken and Jim Wheat. Now, Ken and Jim Wheat, they wrote The Fly 2. They wrote The Birds 2. They wrote Ewoks Battle for Endor, and they created Pitch Black, that Vin Diesel movie, that Riddick guy. I never saw any of them. To me, Vin Diesel, if he's not with family, or he's not a tree, or he's not a giant iron giant, I don't care. But Helgeland, he wrote Man on Fire. He wrote Mystic River. He wrote LA Confidential. Ladies and gentlemen, he wrote 976 Evil. We're talking, this is royalty, okay? 976 Evil, I had that poster on my wall because my brother and I worked in a video store. And he would bring home horror movie posters. Later, I worked there. But early on, he would bring home, I had the horror movie. I had Exorcist 3, I believe, unless my brother had that. I had the horror film Mikey, which was remember when Family Ties brought in the little kid, when all the other kids were getting a little too old, they brought in the new kid. That he went on to be in a horror movie called Mikey. And of course, most people call me Mikey around here. And that led to that. What the hell am I talking about? Oh, yes. A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. So I went through some notes. I took some notes, not notes for the movie to walk you through. I'm going to just walk us through with some memory and also by pulling the movie up tangentially on a different screen over here. But I did take some notes about the kind of production for this movie. The producers did go to Wes Craven first. Apparently one of the producers always goes to Wes Craven first for a sequel and to get his idea, but they didn't like his idea because apparently it had something to do with time travel. Now, and they said it didn't really make sense, but I have to say, if I could see a movie where Freddy Krueger's traveling through time, or there's some sort of time travel, sign me up. There isn't time travel in this movie. There is sort of like a time loop, which I have to say was pretty effective. And I remember as a kid being freaked out, like, this is amazing. I don't know if it's as amazing looking at it now, but it was pretty cool. Still pretty cool. But they went to him for the idea. They didn't care for it. His idea. But they did go back to him and his partner and say, hey, you want to take a pass at the script we did? Because they went with Kotzwinkle's idea of the Dream Master. And he was like, no, I'll pass. I'll be back in a couple of movies, but not right now. So for director, they actually approached someone by the name of Tom McLaughlin, who I don't know, but he directed one of cinema's greatest achievements, which is Jason Lives' Friday the 13th Part 6. An excellent film. I can't wait to talk about it someday. And I mean that from the bottom of my soul. There's not one bit of tongue in cheek when I say that movie is great. And I can't wait to talk about it. But for this, he was like, I'll do that, but I want creative control. And they were like, no, you can't have that. So, you know what? Let's go to some Finnish dude who's only made a couple movies, little low budget horror movies. Let's go to him. And the fact that they went to Renny Harlin changed his career. And I don't know what Tom McLaughlin did after that, but it definitely, I guess this movie is what got Renny Harlin to do Die Hard 2, Cliffhanger, and eventually Deep Blue Sea. And he did that pirate movie. He married Gina Davis. He did that pirate movie, and his career kind of it kind of plateaued at that point. But he had this whole idea that he was approaching this where he was looking at Freddy as almost like the James Bond of the series. Like, he's the one that the audience roots for. There's a quote. He says, we've reached the point where the audience sees Freddy as the hero. They come to these movies to hear his funny lines and see him do those amazing things. And because of that popularity, I'm faced with showing Freddy in a more heroic light and giving him more screen time. People will still fear him, but they will also be cheering him on. Yeah, I can see that, because we want to see how Freddy will kill these, unsuspecting teens who are, the oldest teens you'll ever see. And whereas 1 and 2 were kind of their own story, I feel like 3, 4, and 5, Dream Masters, Dream Warriors, Dream Master, Dream Child, are like their own little trilogy. Because after that, we go to Freddy's Dead, and I don't remember if there's any connection between Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare, and Part 5. So I'll be looking forward to discussing that someday, a million years ago. And even though these movies are connected, they couldn't bring everybody back. It was nice that, because it's a connection to Dream Warriors, they bring back Joey, they bring back Kincaid. I have questions about what they're doing in their lives. Apparently the hospital's closed and they're all doing great. You know what I'm thinking? The parents thought, you know what? There were so many funerals from kids at this hospital. Let's take them home. Let's bring them home. But when they brought, what's her name home? When they brought Kristen home, the hospital made a mix-up. Like when they mix up babies at the hospital, they mixed up Kristen's because we have a whole new actress now by the name of Tuesday Knight, which I guess is her name. She was a musician and actress. I put those both in quotes. I'm not sure she's very good at either. She did her song Nightmare is actually heard at the beginning of this movie. It was never released on an official soundtrack, but there has since been she released it herself in CD and MP3 formats. Thank you, Wikipedia. But what's funny is in the 2010 documentary Never Sleep Again, other cast members suggested that her prominence, this is how it's written in Wikipedia. And I couldn't find the original article because Sci-Fi took it down. It's from sci-fi.com, the channel, Sci with a Y, Fi with a Y. They said her prominence was a result of a relationship with director Renny Harlin. Some hanky-panky, but they both deny that. And I'm like, did she really have prominence in this movie? Maybe did she get cast after the fact that she already, was the relationship after she got cast, or did she get cast because of the relationship? I don't know. All I know is they bring her back, and they bring back Kincaid, and they bring back Joey. And spoiler alert, they kill them all. So there goes and they bring in a new character who then leads you to the next film, which I don't like. I have such little memory of the next film. When I watched this movie, things like the time loop, some of the kills, there were definitely things I go, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember that. I have no memory of the dream child. Yet the only thing I think is, did they bring back the nun? Did they bring back Freddy's mom? I think maybe, but we're getting ahead of ourselves here. We're still, and again, at the rate I'm going, who knows when that's going to be coming out. But we're here to talk about The Dream Master, Part 4 of this A Nightmare on Elm Street series. So let's start doing that. The movie, I love when they start with these quotes. I know some of them do, but I'm not sure all of them do. But it's funny because it makes it feel like it's important. Like, oh, we're quoting the Bible. This is some heavy shit you're about to hear. When deep sleep falleth on men, fear came upon me, and trembling which made all my bones to shake. What? That's from Job 4:13, verses 13 and 14. Okay, sure. They're like, let's go through the Bible. Look for anything with dreams. Let's put it at the beginning. All right, now we're talking. Now we're an art film. Look, what I do like in this movie is Freddy gets top billing right away. It's Robert Englund in The Dream Master, and we pick up. This movie starts with some drawing. This is where it's kind of started with like the Nightmare house. But it was in 3. Remember, that's where we saw the house in paper mache. And then at the end, it was in that doctor's house, Craig, what's his name? It was in his house, the light turned on, and we're like, ooh. And then that's completely never discussed. We never see the doctor again. None of that. Now we're back. We're talking, we're back in the dream world. We're back at the house, and we see a girl, using chalk to draw the original Krueger house. And then we see, there she is, Kristen Parker, all new, very different. If you don't know that it's like, if you don't remember part 3, like the names, you're going to be like, who the hell is this girl? Who the hell is Kristen? Oh, Kristen was the girl from the last one. Like, you might remember the face more than the name, and no one's going to be like, oh my goodness, the Kristen? No, nobody. So you're like, what the hell's going on here? Like, what is this? Who's this girl? But it doesn't really matter, because what do we see? We see her right in front of Freddy's house. We see it dark. We see it scary. We know we're in the dream world, and we're already seeing, like, right away, there's creepy effing kids jumping rope, and we're back. It's like kind of reminiscent of part 3. We're back in, Kristen's back in this scary dream, but now she can automatically, without even thinking about it, pull her friends into the dream. She pulls Kincaid, like, boom, you're coming with me. She pulls Joey, boom, you're coming with me. And they're like, why are you doing this? We don't want you being in this dream anymore. And I think, like, Kincaid's dog gets pulled through and ends up biting Kristen, and she wakes up with the dog bite. And it is such a giant wound that you think she would go to the ER immediately, but nope. No problem. Let's just go to school. She goes to school, and she goes to pick up her friend, Alice. There we go. Now, I didn't remember Alice is you don't think of it at the time, but she is going to become the new star. So we see Alice. We see Alice's brother. I don't know. He's some sort of kung fu expert, and he's dating Kristen. And we see their dad, who is a horrible, horrible person. They get to school, and we get the girl with the largest hair. Since, I don't know, maybe the largest hair ever in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. This is Brooke Theiss. She plays the character Debbie Stevens, which to me is the most generic name you could give, like, a teenage white girl from the 80s. Like, a lot of these names are really, really generic. It's like Alice Johnson, Kristen Parker, Debbie Stevens. They get to school. She's there. Now, there's a connection. After this, she goes on to be one of the characters, one of the daughters in the TV show Just the 10 of Us. Her sister, Heather Langenkamp. Bum, bum. It's all connected. So this is kind of the scene where we get to meet all our, victims, our eventual victims, really, when you think about it. We meet, we got Alice. Kristen picks up Alice's brother. I don't remember his name. We'll call him boyfriend. Then we see Debbie. We see the nerdy girl who has asthma. Things like they starting planting seeds like Debbie's afraid of bugs. This nerdy girl has asthma. And then we meet Dan, who actually he lives. He moves on. He's one of the jocks who we see Alice doing something new in these movies. She's daydreaming. Now, do you remember how Kristen has this power? She can pull people into her dreams. Well, Alice eventually gets it. We know that, right? In the most stupid way. I'll just say it. It was really dumb. The movie, when I'm thinking about it, it's like, oh my God, this is dumb. But we meet the jocks. One of the jocks Alice has a crush on. And he actually, he looks like he should be the bully, but he actually ends up being kind of a nice guy, a cool guy. But Kincaid and Joey go to the school. So the parents pulled them out. They live now. They go to normal high school. I mean, they were a danger to themselves. And now they're just back at high school, no problem. And, what does that get them? It gets them dead pretty quickly. But they're friends with Kristen, but they're like their own friends. They have their connection from the hospital. She has her own set of friends, which includes boyfriend and Alice. And I can see they don't really mesh these two audiences, these two groups. But when at one point she's walking by with her boyfriend, we see a Freddy slash along these lockers. That makes no sense at all, but it looks cool. And you're going to see a lot of that. There's a scene where the boyfriend, he practices the martial art of kung fu, I believe. And it's not played for hilarity. It's not played for comedy or comic relief. It's played with sincerity, with some terrific music. I believe the band name was like Dramarama, anything. It's like this punk song that felt like it could fit in the grunge era, but this was years before, and I don't think this band did much of anything. But literally, he's upstairs practicing his kung fu while Alice is downstairs making dinner for her dad. He gets home. He's a big asshole to her. She like smashes the plate, but then you realize, no, she's only daydreaming. And you realize she's miserable. It looks like her mom is no longer living, and her dad's just a complete prick. So we cut over and we see Kincaid and Kincaid's dog. And it reminds me now, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but this is, and the thing about these movies are, we don't have a reason why Freddy comes back. We have a reason why Freddy dies. We have a reason why at the end he's no longer with us. But we don't have a reason as to why he comes back. He's just back. So to me, it seems like every time they kill him, all they really do is weaken him enough that he won't bother them for a little while. And then eventually he'll come and kill them. But the way they bring him back, it's like, let's do something fun that's just effing stupid. And they're like, let's do it. So remember Kincaid has a dog? Well, he has a dream where he wakes up in a graveyard, and his dog's there with him. His dog can go into dreams, and his dog sees a little grave, like a little hole. Remember they put Freddy's bones in a hole in the actual graveyard. In the dream world, the dog goes over and pisses fire on the grave. I'm going to give you a moment to allow that to sink in. The dog pisses fire on the grave, which magically brings Freddy Krueger back to life. What else do they need to do to secure an Academy Award nomination? I mean, that should be it right there. Unbelievable. And it's actually kind of a cool effect of him coming back to life, like he regenerates in the grave and pretty quickly kills Kincaid. And it's like, it's anticlimactic. It's like we brought Kincaid back. Kincaid tries to fight with, throwing cars around, but 2 seconds, Freddy's like, yeah, I don't think so, Kincaid. Stabs him, and Kincaid ends up having a heart attack, or looks like he's having a heart attack in his bed, and he's dead. Meanwhile, I don't know if Kristen notices it, but it's like, let's get rid of the other kid too. Remember the kid who doesn't talk? Remember how he almost died in the first movie? Do you remember? He was hot for the nurse. He was in a dream world. He found the hot nurse dreaming. She went over, took her top off, shot tongues at him, and he died. He was lying in the bed, but he didn't die. He survived. That's how they almost got him. And Freddy's like, you know what? This guy likes boobies, so let's do it again. So I've never had a waterbed. I had a friend who had a waterbed, and I think I sat on it once. I've never slept on a waterbed. I would like to have. I don't even know if they make waterbeds anymore. But my friend, this is actually kind of a cool kill. It's a fun little thing. It's like the idea of the kill. The Kincaid kill, I thought, was garbage. That's how I say garbage. I don't know how you say it. I say garbage. But this one, kind of cool. He's hanging out, listening to music, looking at, he's got bikini models, posters on his wall. He falls asleep. He wakes up in his dream. He hears something. He pulls back the sheet, and his waterbed, there's a naked chick on the other side of the waterbed. Like, hi, I'm under the water. He's like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. He's like, how do I get in there? And when she flows away, Freddy jumps up through the waterbed, pulls him into the waterbed, pulls him down, drowns him, stabs him, kills him. He is now dead. Now, that's 2 kills. We have a body count of 2, both survivors from the previous film, just kind of wiping away that. How his mother finds him later defies logic. Defies logic completely. We cut over and we see Alice, and you start to realize Alice is probably the main character. She's got pictures of all she's got a picture with her and every other character in the movie, so it works out. But she starts taking pictures off the wall. And they're really covering up her mirror. Or maybe it was a way of them saying she didn't want to look at herself. She didn't want to see herself, but she took one off. It was her mom. And you saw a little bit of herself, and you see her and her brother bond, which is kind of nice. We cut over, and remember I said Joey died? His mother found him in the waterbed. So let's think about this. Freddie, in the dream world, Freddie cut him, put him in the waterbed, stabbed him, killed him. Now, in the real world, he should just be dead. He should just be dead in his bed like Kincaid. But instead, he somehow cut the waterbed, fell into the waterbed, and then sealed the waterbed back up. And it's still lit. Like maybe there's lights in the waterbed. I don't know. But somehow he's in the mattress of the waterbed. Looks cool. Logically stupid. But that's kind of how these movies are done. You know, let's do something cool. Let's do something that we think is cool. Who cares if it makes sense? Now the next day at school, there's now 2 kids that are dead from the high school. Business as usual. Nobody seems to care except Kristen and Alice. And Kristen's like, you know, I think they start talking about the man in the dreams, the man in my dreams. Who's this man? Everyone always talks about they see the same thing in their dream, but they don't want to admit what it is. And you could see they're like, what I don't understand is how school keeps going, but it does. You know what it is? They go to school and maybe they're not even found dead yet, but Kristen goes in and notices both kids are not in the class because everyone shares the same class. She freaks out. She passes out. But again, the school does not treat death well. What I like is Kristen wakes up in the nurse's room and you see right away that's Robert Englund. Robert Englund is the nurse. We know it. I don't think she realizes it. And then all of a sudden we see it's Freddie. He's like, arr, 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 arr. And Freddie's got like all these blood samples, and he's ready to kill. He's ready to kill Kristen, but she wakes up in time with a nurse who doesn't quite look like Robert Englund, but still has that old-fashioned nurse look, which is, you know, kind of. It seems like passé with the nurse with the big white thing on top. Now we jump over to Alice. She works in the diner. That's where we get another song in the soundtrack, this killer soundtrack. And, you know, she works at a diner. You know what the diner's called? The Crave Inn. Craven. Wes Craven. Get it? Yes, you do, because it's excellent. So Alice is there. She sees her bohunk of a boyfriend there. The other girl works there. I already forgot her name. The nerdy friends there. They're all kind of hanging out there. This seems to be the hangout place. But they, all of a sudden, Kristen and boyfriend, Alice's brother, come in. It's like, we got to go. We got to deal with something. These kids are dead. So Joey's dead. Kincaid's dead. And they're like, I know what to do. I know what to do. And for some reason, they all go to the house. They all go to the Freddie house, including the cool jock guy. Somehow he's part of them. Again, he's good in this. He's not a jerk or anything. And I don't know why they're there. They're there to kind of, I think because they've all been sharing dreams or something like that. I don't know what possesses them to do these things, but they all go in the house, or they start to go to the house, and Kristen's mom shows up, and it's the same actress. She's the same bitch from the third one. She's like, you come home right now. And she is like, she's worried about Kristen, so she drugs her while she's at dinner. She puts a little, I don't know if it's Hypnosil, she puts something in her drink to make her fall asleep because she's been so emotional. 2 high school age children were murdered or killed or dead. Doesn't matter how it happened. 2 kids are dead. Classmates, people that she was in a hospital with. And the first thing her mother does is like, you know what? You're being hysterical. Let me drug you. And what I do love is that Kristen says to her mother, you just killed me. Whatever happens, you just killed me. The fact that and she's like, oh, you're being dramatic. But she's like, nope, you just killed me. And she tries to leave. She tries to get dressed and go out. She tries to call Alice, and then she just falls asleep. But we do get a fun kill here because she's on a beach. Everything's nice. She wanted to dream of something nice. She thought, if I dream of someplace nice things can happen. So she dreams of being on the beach in a little bikini with the girl making a little sandcastle. But then out of the water comes a shark fin that looks surprisingly like Freddy Krueger's claw. Then it becomes Freddy Krueger's claw. Now go with me. It then smashes into the sandcastle, explodes, and Kristen tries to run away very slowly. Freddy shows up, puts sunglasses on, and then steps on her head, and she sinks into sand, like a quicksand. She goes through the sand, smashes, and now she's in Freddy's house. You're like, what? And she's on the roof, and they did one of those things where the room spins. So she's able to crawl, on the ceiling. I always love how they do that kind of stuff. And now she's in the boiler room. So her mom, she tried to think of someplace nice. She went to the beach, but Freddy's like, I like going to the beach too. And now then he brings her back to the house, back to the boiler room. We get some really cool shots of the green lighting, which really accentuates Freddy looking kind of rad. And then he's like, yep, I'm here. Too bad. Things are going bad. And boom, you're dead. And he kills her. And wait, he doesn't kill her just yet. He pulls Alice into the dream. She pulls Alice into the dream. And this is the how sweet, fresh meat. But before, this is so maddening. He kills Kristen by throwing her into a furnace in the dream. Kristen is burning, but before she goes, she says, Alice. And Freddy rips open his shirt. Now we see the souls on the chest for the first time. He's like, oh, the souls, my children. And Kristen's like, Kazam from the furnace. And the power of being a dream master goes from Kristen into Alice. It's like, whoa, what? The power is now in her? That's stupid. But now Alice wakes up and she goes to her dresser and she sees another picture that wasn't there before on the mirror. And it's a picture of Freddy holding Kristen in a postcard that says greetings from hell. And then the postcard goes on fire. Now, Alice doesn't wake up again. This is all in the waking world, unless she's dreaming, like having a sort of a daydream that she can see Freddy in. But they're like, shit, we got to get over to Kristen right away. They try to get to her in time. They're like, but they can see smoke in the house. Now there's smoke in the house. There's flames in the house. The mother has no idea. Now either she has, she's drinking bourbon with another guy. She's drunk herself. I don't know, but they break into the house. Mother's like, what's going on? They get in there. They open the door and the bed is completely on fire. Kristen's dead. The complete cast of the Dream Warriors are now skedoodled. Freddy did it. He killed them all. He killed the last of the Elm Street children. So Freddy's won, right? I mean, I don't know. I think now he's intrigued with this, fresh meat of Alice. But if Nancy said in the last movie that they're the last of the Elm Street children, Freddy's won. He's completed his task. Now Freddy's like, now my soul is complete. I can move on. And he's free and he moves on to heaven. Now, hey, you did your task. Freddy, welcome to heaven. Instead, we go to a graveyard. Now, there's a few big cemeteries in my area. And I have, my in-laws have a plot. My father-in-law passed away a couple of years ago. He has a plot. And it's morbid when you see, my mother-in-law's name there. And then a few streets over at the same cemetery, I see a plot with my parents' name on it. Now, my parents are both alive, but I see their name on it. But it's weird. My grandparents are there, but what I don't see is their friends all around them. And yet in the Springwood Cemetery, within the same section, it's almost like they have the Freddy section. Put the Freddy section over here. Everyone that Freddy kills, everyone that dies, from Elm Street, it's almost like they're organized by neighborhood. They're all put in the same place because at the first headstone we see is Roland Kincaid. Behind that, we see Nancy Thompson and Donald Thompson. So we see Nancy and her dad. Now, the dad isn't buried with the mother. You'd think you'd see both names. I didn't see that. We see Kristen Parker. She's there. So now we didn't see Joey. Maybe Joey was cremated. I have no idea. But it just was funny to me that they put all the graves in one cemetery. And I mean funny as in that was dumb. But now we get to, really Alice is now the new star. She's watching old home movies of her friends and she's just sad. And her brother's just sad. Everyone's sad as they're watching movies of Kristen, which you realize they had to go make and shoot all these home movies with these people, which I just thought was kind of funny. I think Alice starts talking about dreams, and the brother's trying to figure out what's going on with dreams as well. Everyone's a little freaked out here. Alice, this is when you start to see something's up here. Earlier in the movie, Kristen was smoking. Now, Alice didn't do that kind of thing, but all of a sudden, she started smoking. And it's like, wait a second. She doesn't smoke, but Kristen does. Ooh, and it's like the first little clue that something's going on here. Now, we jump right into a classroom. It's like, okay, it's been a few minutes without a murder. We still have a plot here open at the cemetery if any of you teens want to take us up on that. And we have the nerdy girl who has asthma, remember? She falls asleep. We get this weird animation of all her math animating on her screen, which, again, it's like, we can do it, so let's do something kind of clever. And then in the Nightmare on Elm Street font, is written in ink, "Learning is fun with Freddy." And Alice is awake, but she doesn't realize that something's going on. And the nerdy girl, which I don't remember her name, is asleep, or Alice is asleep too. She's there. I have no idea how this is all done. But a freaking hand, which isn't quite Freddy's hand, comes up. It looks like a robot hand. Yes, I'm telling the truth here. It comes up through the desk, grabs her, and starts trying to pull her down. Doesn't get it, but Freddy now is the teacher in the classroom. He's at the front of the class, and he goes, and Alice is just sitting there watching this. Freddy goes over, he's like, hi, you want to make out? He doesn't say that, but he basically sucks the life out of this girl, sucks the air out of her. Now, in the dream world, she gets she almost like deflated, which is hilarious. In the real world, she has an asthma attack. And I think Alice does too for a second, because now she's getting powers. But now you're realizing this is the third death of a high school student. Not one class gets stopped. Nothing at all bad happens. But we see our four friends. We see Alice. I think it's Dan, Debbie, and boyfriend, who's Alice's brother. I don't know his name. Karate boy. We see them and are like, okay, these are your, survivors. These are the final things that are going to be going on here. They're the ones who are going to be fighting Freddy to the end. Not quite. Alice is back at the diner. She ends up hanging out with, she starts seeing the boyfriend, Dan, and they start to have a connection. It's like, not much happens, to be honest with you, until we get to another dream, which is the boyfriend falling asleep at school, waking up with all these girls, like cheerleaders around him, kind of dumb. He's in an elevator. I think that was the original death, was he was going to die in an elevator. They shot up, or they were going to shoot up, but it was too expensive. So they have him come out of the elevator and into a dojo. Remember he did karate before? Well, now he's ready to kick the living shit out of Fred Krueger, which of course ends with another funeral, another dead body, because now the brother's dead. Friends, there have been 4 deaths, 4 teenage deaths, all at the same high school. At this point, the FBI should be at Springwood investigating what is going on. There is a serial killer. There is something in the air. There is something killing our children. What is happening here? This is bad luck. And my friend, we're not over. We're not done yet. We've had Kincaid, Joey, Kristen, and now boyfriend. Again, I don't remember his name. I don't think it's Dan. I think Dan's the other guy. So now we're down to, and nerdy girl. 5 kids, not 4, 5 children. Now, yes, they look like young adults. They're probably in their late 20s. But in this world, they are high school children. Now, and yet nothing is done. No parents uproar, no school meetings, no nothing. It's maddening. But Alice is like, I'm ready to, fight back. And you realize that now she goes back to her house. She's sad. She looks at a picture of her brother. And she says, you know what? You know what my brother really liked more than anything? Nunchucks. She picks up some friggin' nunchucks and she starts using them. And she starts flipping and flapping. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. She picked up the power of her brother. So now she's picking up the powers of the people who are dying. So if I was her, I'd be like, okay, let's start killing more people so I can get more powers. To get the ultimate power, she must kill every kid. Now that's the movie. She kills every other kid at Springwood High to get enough powers to not take out Freddy, but to take over for Freddy. Kill Freddy, and now she becomes the dream killer. Freddy's like, no, we can work together. We can make this work out. She's like, no, sorry, bitch. Boom. And then, why am I doing with that hand? Boom. For the YouTube video, I'm wearing the Freddy glove because I actually didn't even realize I had this on. This is just a coincidence that I'm wearing this today. So she's ready to kick some ass. She has a plan. Her dad's still an asshole, but this is when we get the cool little time loop where she goes to visit her boyfriend, and every time, actually not, yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. She went to go meet him. She didn't get there. She ends up going to a movie theater. Now you can see the green light in the movie theater, and you already realize, there's something already going on here. She's in the dream world, and she's watching a movie, and the movie is The Crave-In. It's a black and white movie. She gets sucked into the movie. Now, I can remember being 12 years old. I probably thought this was the cat's meow, the cat's pajamas. I think I used that already. This was amazing to me. Like, oh my God, she's in black and white. She's in the movie. She looks back out of the screen, and she sees all the dead kids, and she sees herself asleep in the theater. And like, this is incredible. She goes to the diner. She sees an old lady, but it's her. I don't know what the hell it means. I don't get it. Freddy shows up and shows a pizza, and on the pizza there's meatballs, and on the meatballs' faces are other kids, including her brother. He picks up a meatball with her brother's face on it, and he eats that delicious, delicious meatball. And all it makes me think is, now I want meatballs. This is just Freddy going like, let me just fuck with this girl as much as I can. But she realizes, like, boom, she wakes up and realizes Alice was in a dream the entire time. And I'm not even sure if she's quite out of it yet, because we cut over to, what's her name? The other girl. I don't remember. Her name is Debbie Stevens. A very memorable name, as I said. And she's the tough chick. So she's working out, right? But then she needs a spotter. Well, she falls asleep. And the spotter's Freddy. And Freddy pushes down the weight so hard that he rips her arms off. And of course, what happens when you rip your arms off? Bug arms come out. She becomes a roach. She's stuck in a trap. And it's pretty gross and pretty awesome at the same time. Meanwhile, Alice is trying to get to her. She's like, we got to go to Debbie's. And we keep seeing that scene over and over. And you realize she never woke up. She's still in the dream. And she's in this loop, which I kind of love. But the girl turns into a complete bug, turns into a roach. Remember, she was afraid of roaches. Now she is a roach. The scene ends with Freddy looking in a roach motel, and it's like they check in, but they never check out, which is like, isn't that the Raid, the old kind of roach motel like tagline? And he crushes the roach motel with the girl bug inside, killing her instantly. She's dead. We cut over, and Alice and the boyfriend are in the truck. But I don't think they realize they're in a dream world still. And I think they're in a dream world. I can't even tell anymore because they're in an ambulance. They crash. They're in an ambulance, and there's green lights, which makes me think they're in the dream world. And they go to sedate him. She's like, no, don't sedate him. Don't sedate him. But they do sedate him. He gets pulled off into the hospital. The dad, all of a sudden Alice's dad is there, and he's like, what are you doing? She's like, no, we can't sleep. This can't be happening. So she realizes she needs to, I guess this is all in the waking world. She needs to kill Freddy before he falls asleep during surgery and Freddy kills him. But before she can do that, she realizes, I need to go home and train. All this is happening at the same time. She goes back to the house. She gets her brother's like headgear, like head wrap that you would use as a karate expert, like Daniel-san would wear, puts that on, starts dressing like a badass like Debbie. She's basically taking on everyone's powers. And she comes back into the dream world and pulls the boyfriend. Oh, no, the boyfriend's in the dream world. She goes into the dream world to save him. And while he's in surgery, all of a sudden they're in the dream world. There's a bunch of kids singing in a choir, and Frederick Krueger's there. And they just start fighting. They start beating the crap out of each other, but she's pretty awesome. She can take it. And there was something where the real power that she realizes, and I hate to say it's dawning on me right now, but the entire movie, she's taking pictures off of the mirror. And she's doing that because at first she covered up the mirror. She didn't want to face herself. And slowly but surely, she starts to face herself. She starts to believe in herself. She starts to accept herself. And she realizes that, looking at yourself is really, like your truth, I guess, or something. Or she can accept herself, but can evil do it? And she shines a mirror on Freddy. And it works. It pokes a giant hole in him. And you're like, is that... Yeah, it pokes a giant hole, rips a hole through him. Pretty rad. Actually, she fights him. The holes, I don't know. She finally shows the mirror. The bodies inside Freddy start ripping him apart, and his soul and everything gets ripped apart. Look, I'm doing the best I can. Staring at the movie, I took no notes about the plot, and I watched it a couple of weeks ago, and it's not that good to begin with. But now that Freddy sees his reflection, he's like, I'm ugly, no. And the shirt, because he was like, I'm going to add your soul to my belly. And then the bodies start reaching out and grabbing him and fighting back, which is a cool effect. And then, because they're in a church, did I mention that? The doors open up like it's the end of Lost and everyone's walking through the light. She walks through the light, and now we see that she's dating the boyfriend, the new boyfriend, not the brother. Her brother's dead. She's dating the hunky quarterback. They go to a fountain. They go to make a little wish, and everyone's happy. And they walk away. And I don't think we see anything like I was waiting to see, some scary kids, something. Nope, they just walk away. So he survives, she survives, and they're both, I believe, in the next film. But she seemed like she was in a pretty happy place, after her brother, her best friend, her other best friend, her other best friend, and her two friends from the hospital all died. So I think the final kill count, if I'm correct, we got her brother, we got Joey and Kincaid, we got Kristen, and we got Debbie, and we got the nerdy girl. So 6 children were murdered, but she got the boy. So it's all worth it in the end. She got the boy. So happy ending, right? And that's really it. That is A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. And I have to say, sitting down and actually just hitting record, you get what you get with me. I know some of the facts. I don't know others. I'm sure I messed up some of the plot. It's not that important. It's still fun to watch, still fun to talk about. And I realize as I'm sitting down doing this that, it's because sometimes I do these podcasts. I go, I gotta find time to do this. And then I go, no, I want to sit down and watch another episode of TV or something. And I don't do it. And I said to myself, Mike, damn it, do it. Get this up, get this out. And as I do it, I'm thinking, this is a lot easier not taking notes, just sitting here talking and having fun. So I hope to get back to you sooner with part 5. But as I said, check out the soundtrack, and I might put a show link to a Spotify playlist that is the soundtrack to this movie, because there's some excellent songs on there that I don't want to play on here and get pinged for copyrights, because they've done that. If I play too many songs, sometimes YouTube will pick up on that. But there is a song on here. I think it's called Love Kills. It is by a film called, oh my God, Sinead O'Connor performed a song on this record. I'm looking at the credits and that totally threw me off. But there's a song on here by a band called Vinnie Vincent Invasion. Now you might say, who the hell's Vinnie Vincent? My friends, Vinnie Vincent is a guitarist who was in the band Kiss for one album. He was he was the last guitarist before they took the makeup off. So Ace Frehley leaves, Vinnie Vincent comes in, and he, Peter Criss was already gone, so we already got the Fox makeup with Eric Carr on the drums. Vinnie Vincent comes in. He's wearing, like, I don't know if they call them the pharaoh or the ankh, but it's white makeup with like an Egyptian gold symbol on it. And then he's in the Lick It Up album. So if you see the Lick It Up video and they show the legs and they're walking, and then all of a sudden it pulls up and you see, we're Kiss without makeup, Lick It Up. Vinnie Vincent's the guy you're like, who the hell's that? That's Vinnie Vincent. He then leaves because they hated him, and he goes on to start his own band called Vinnie Vincent Invasion. Now you may say, who cares about Vinnie Vincent Invasion? Except Vinnie Vincent Invasion included Dana Strum and Mark Slaughter. Now you may say, who are they? They went on to be in the band called Slaughter. Up all night, sleep all day, or fly to the angels. Slaughter was a big deal for me in the 8th grade. There. We've come full circle from Kiss to Slaughter, which is, the high point of American music, just as this movie was the high point of American cinema. So that's it, my friends. I'm done. Thank you so much for sticking with the show. Thank you so much for finding it on all the podcast channels or finding it on YouTube. I appreciate it. You can, and that's my dog. I don't know if you can hear my dog crying, but my dog needs to go out. So this is the perfect time to end this show. You can find me you can find the show on Twitter and, just on Twitter at /horror. I don't think we have an Instagram, but /horror on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Mastodon.social, Threads, anywhere. Just look for Geek Mentality. That's me. Or you can find me on Blue Sky, Mikey-C. If you're on Blue Sky, I'm on there too. And I will be back. Go to fansnotexperts.com or go to youtube.com @fansnotexperts. Search Fans Not Experts on YouTube to find this, every other episode of Slash, and hundreds of other podcast episodes covering movies and TV shows. I have another podcast starting in the beginning of March. I'm going to be talking about Back to the Future all the way through March for my 4th and final year of Marty McFly. This Fine Movies, Fine Spirits. We just did The Dark Knight, and we're recording another episode in a couple days. So there's every episode of every podcast that pretty much I've ever done can be found at fansnotexperts.com and on the Fans Not Experts YouTube channel. Now, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for subscribing. My dog needs to go out. Remember, it's fun to be scared, and whatever you do, don't fall asleep. Googity boogity. Ooh.
Fans Not Experts.